The room fell silent as Ambassador Ju Kim entered the grand chamber of the Galactic Conclave. Her steps echoed against the marble floors, measured and dignified, despite the weight of Earth's gravity still evident in her movements. The alien representatives watched her with a mixture of curiosity and barely hidden disdain. Some shifted uncomfortably in their specially designed seats, others whispered behind translucent appendages. Kim had represented humanity for 7 years now. 7 years of smiling through insults disguised as cultural misunderstandings. 7 years of accepting unfair trade terms. 7 years of watching human colonies receive the worst territories while pretending to be grateful. "The human delegation is recognized," announced Head Arbiter Noom, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of impatience in his species. "Though we remind the Assembly that the session has already begun. Punctuality remains a challenge for our Deathworld colleagues." Kim bowed slightly. "My apologies. Our ship was delayed during the decontamination process at the station. It seems the protocols for Earth vessels were intensified without notice." This was a lie. She had been waiting outside for 3 hours after arriving early, a common tactic used to put humans on edge before important meetings. "The Conclave thanks Earth for its continuing efforts to prevent biological contamination," Noom responded, mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among his kind. "Given your planet's remarkable diversity of pathogens, one cannot be too careful." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Kim took her seat at the lowest tier, where Earth had been placed despite its significant contributions to interstellar medicine and engineering. Above her sat representatives from worlds that had achieved spaceflight centuries after humans, but were classified as harmonious environments rather than death worlds. "We continue our discussion of resource allocation in the Orion Spur," Noom said. "The military delegation has proposed expanding their mining operations to include the Ta City system." Kim straightened. "Excuse me, Arbiter. Ta City includes a human colony world. New Hope has been developing there for 15 years. Ambassador Tull of the military rose, his slender body towering over most delegates. "The human presence consists of merely 20,000 settlers. Our geological surveys indicate substantial iridium deposits that would benefit the entire conclave. Surely humans can be relocated. Those 20,000 people have built homes, farms, and communities," Kim countered. "The colony charter was approved by this very conclave." "A provisional charter," corrected Tull. "And given Earth's history of environmental disruption, the conclave has every right to reconsider placement of Deathworld species near critical resources." Kim felt her patience wearing thin. Humans have maintained perfect environmental compliance on all colony worlds. Meanwhile, 3 military mining operations have been cited for contamination in the past standard year alone. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Tull's skin flushed a deeper blue. "The human shows her species' characteristic aggression, always so quick to point fingers when their own planet remains a cautionary tale." "Order," called Noom, though he made no effort to defend the human position. "Ambassador Kim, while your concerns are noted, the conclave must consider the greater good. The proposal will be put to vote at tomorrow's session." Kim knew what that meant. The vote was already decided. New Hope would be stripped away, its people forced to relocate, and humans would receive hollow promises of future considerations. The session continued with trade agreements, technology sharing initiatives, and defense pacts, each one subtly excluding Earth or pushing humans further to the periphery of galactic affairs. During the midday recess, Kim retreated to the human embassy, a modest suite compared to the sprawling compounds of other species. She contacted Earth's Defense Council. "They're taking New Hope," she reported. "And this is just the beginning. The military have been meeting privately with the Jacorians and Khazari. Something bigger is coming." General Minji Choi's hologram nodded grimly. "Our intelligence suggests the same. How much longer can diplomacy work, Ambassador?" Kim rubbed her temples. "I don't know. We've bent over backwards for 30 years. Accepted insults, unfair trade terms, territorial incursions, All because we believed peaceful integration was worth it. The Council is losing patience, Choi replied. Project Prometheus is ready. The fleet expansions are complete, but still hidden from Conclave inspectors. We cooled. Not yet, Kim interrupted. Give me one more chance. The annual summit is in 2 weeks. All major powers will be present. If we can't make progress there. Choi nodded. Then we show them what Deathworlders are truly capable of. The annual Galactic Summit was held on neutral ground, a space station orbiting a lifeless star. Kim arrived with a small delegation including scientists, military advisors, and trade specialists. The humans were assigned quarters in the lowest level, nearest to the station's humming power core and furthest from the luxurious viewing decks. On the first day, Kim presented a comprehensive proposal for fair treatment of all sentient species regardless of their world of origin. Her speech was met with polite applause followed by immediate dismissal as impractical idealism. That evening, several human delegates reported stomach pains. By morning, half were violently ill. Station medical scans identified a pathogen specifically engineered to target human biology while remaining harmless to other species. The military delegation expressed concern and suggested postponing human participation in the critical resource allocation votes scheduled for that day. Instead, Kim and her team appeared at the session precisely on time. Their faces were pale, some occasionally dabbing sweat from their brows, but all stood straight. The other delegates shifted uncomfortably, surprised by their presence. The humans appear unwell, Tull observed with poorly concealed satisfaction. Perhaps they should retire to their quarters. Kim smiled thinly. We're quite capable of fulfilling our duties, Ambassador. It seems someone attempted to influence these proceedings through biological means. Fortunately, humans come from a world teeming with pathogens. We've developed remarkable immune systems and pharmaceutical responses. She held up a small injector, a simple anti-nausea medication, coupled with immune boosters. We're already manufacturing an antidote. In fact, we'd be happy to share it with the Conclave Medical Database, for the appropriate technology exchange, of course. The chamber fell silent. Several delegates looked away in discomfort. You knew? Asked a Jacorian representative. That someone would try to poison us. Kim's voice remained level. We suspected. Deathworlders learn to anticipate threats. It's how we survive. The summit continued, but something had changed. The human delegates no longer smiled politely at veiled insults. They no longer accepted unfavorable terms without question. And when they looked at their counterparts across negotiation tables, there was something new in their eyes, a cold, calculating patience that made even the most arrogant delegates uneasy. That evening, Earth's Defense Council received a simple message from Ambassador Kim. Diplomatic options are exhausted. Activate contingency protocols. The day Deathworlders stopped being nice had arrived. Captain Do-Yen Park stood on the bridge of the UES Vigilant, watching the stars through the main viewport. His ship hung in the darkness between worlds, engines silent, running on minimal power. To most scanners, they would appear to be just another piece of space debris, the perfect hunter waiting for prey. Captain, encrypted transmission from Earth Command, said Lieutenant June, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge. Park nodded. My quarters. Inside his sparse cabin, Park activated the secure terminal. General Minji Choi's face appeared, her expression grim yet somehow satisfied. Captain Park, the Security Council has made its decision. Resolution 1887 has passed. Park felt a chill run down his spine. Resolution 1887 was something military officers had discussed in hushed tones for years, the authorization to stop playing by the Conclave's rules. Effective immediately, Choi continued, all human vessels are permitted to use maximum necessary force to protect human interests. No more restraint. No more turning the other cheek. The diplomatic approach has failed. Understood, General. Any specific orders for the Vigilant? The colony ship Horizon Dawn left Earth 3 days ago. Intelligence suggests Jacorian pirates are planning an attack in the Ta sector. These are the same pirates who hit the Singapore last month. 43 civilians dead, no consequences from the conclave. Park's jaw tightened. The Singapore was carrying children. Yes, and the conclave called it unfortunate, but reminded us that Deathworlders should expect dangers when expanding beyond our natural territory. The disgust in Choi's voice was palpable. The Horizon Dawn carries 2,000 colonists bound for New Hope. You will ensure they arrive safely. By any means necessary. By any means necessary, Captain. The days of measured response are over. When the transmission ended, Park sat motionless for several minutes. Then he called his senior officers to the briefing room. The rules have changed, he told them, looking at each face around the table. Resolution 1887 is now in effect. Lieutenant Commander Yunhe Lee, his tactical officer, smiled slightly. About damn time. We have confirmation that Jacorian raiders plan to hit the Horizon Dawn, Park continued. This colony ship carries families, people who gave up everything to build new lives. The Jacorians see them as easy targets. Standard procedure would be to escort at a distance and intervene only if attacked, said Security Chief Taho Kwan. Minimal force, prisoners taken, formal complaints filed with the conclave. Not anymore, Park replied. New orders are to eliminate the threat completely. The conclave has failed to protect our people. We will show the Jacorians, and everyone else, what happens when humans stop being nice. The Vigilant moved to a position near an old asteroid field, a frequent hiding spot for pirates waiting to ambush passing ships. They powered down non-essential systems and waited. 3 days later, sensors detected the Horizon Dawn approaching right on schedule. Then came the pirates, a Jacorian raider vessel larger than the Vigilant, accompanied by 2 smaller craft. Their hulls were painted with red stripes, the infamous mark of Captain Grizz, responsible for attacks on 6 human ships in the past year. They're moving to intercept the colony ship, reported Lieutenant June. Charging weapons. Alert the Horizon Dawn to execute Emergency Jump Protocol Theta, ordered Park. Then bring all systems to full power. Weapons hot. The colony ship suddenly altered course, executing the short-range jump that would delay their journey but take them out of immediate danger. The Jacorians are confused, said Yumna. They didn't expect the colony ship to have military-grade jump capabilities. Now they're alone with us, Park said quietly. Signal the fleet. From behind the asteroid field, 3 more human vessels appeared, Hunter-class ships that had been hidden for weeks. The Jacorians were suddenly surrounded. We're being hailed by the Jacorian vessel, said Communications Officer Minji Yang. Put them through. The scared face of Captain Grizz appeared on screen. His translator conveyed his clicking speech into standard galactic. Human vessel, this is a misunderstanding. We were merely on patrol when... Captain Grizz, Park interrupted. You and I both know why you're here. You intended to attack a civilian colony ship under my protection. That's a serious accusation, Grizz replied, mandibles twitching nervously as he noted the 3 additional human ships. The conclave would require substantial evidence. We're not taking this to the conclave. Park's voice was cold. For too long, your kind has preyed on our people while the conclave looked the other way. For too long, we filed complaints, followed procedures, waited for justice that never came. Grizz's compound eyes widened. We can discuss compensation. You have 30 seconds to surrender your vessel. Your crew will be detained and returned to Jacorian authorities with evidence of your crimes. This is outrageous, under conclave law. 20 seconds. Grizz's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. You wouldn't dare attack a Jacorian vessel unprovoked. The diplomatic consequences. 10 seconds. If you fire on us, it will mean war. Park leaned forward. No, Captain. It will mean humans have finally stopped pretending this wasn't already a war. When the 30 seconds expired, the Vigilant opened fire. not with the measured disabling shots that human vessels had always used before, but with full military-grade weapons that the Conclave thought humans didn't possess. The battle was brief and one-sided. The smaller Jacorian vessels were disabled with precision strikes. The main raider tried to jump away but found its engines damaged by a targeted electromagnetic pulse. "Boarding teams ready," reported Chief Kwan. "Proceed," ordered Park. Human Marines in advanced combat armor cut through the Jacorian ship's defenses with shocking efficiency. The pirates had expected the usual human approach: careful, restrained, following Conclave rules of engagement. Instead, they faced trained soldiers who moved with the speed and strength that came from evolving on a high-gravity death world. Within 20 minutes, the Jacorian bridge was secured. Captain Garez was brought before Park in restraints, his crew locked in their own brig. "You can't do this," Garez hissed. "The Conclave will." "The Conclave has failed," Park cut him off. "We trusted their system of justice, and it protected predators like you instead of innocent lives. That ends today." Park transmitted the evidence of Garez's previous attacks to Jacorian authorities, along with footage of the attempted ambush of the Horizon Dawn. "Your government will receive you and your crew, along with this evidence. What they do with you is their concern. But know this: if we encounter any more Jacorian raiders targeting human ships, we won't be taking prisoners." The message spread quickly across the galaxy. Humans had finally stopped playing nice. The hunt had begun, and the predators were about to learn what it truly meant to face the apex species from a death world. Dr. Haijin Lee wiped sweat from her brow as she made final adjustments to the exoskeleton frame. The laboratory deep beneath Armstrong Military Academy hummed with activity as technicians prepared for the demonstration. After 5 years of secret development, Project Prometheus was ready. "Final calibration complete," she announced, stepping back from the sleek metal frame. Unlike the bulky power armors of science fiction, the Prometheus suit was slim and elegant, designed to fit closely to the human body. When inactive, it resembled little more than a tight-fitting metallic bodysuit. The true power lay hidden within its molecular structure. General Jin approached, his weathered face serious. "Are you certain it's ready?" "The situation on New Montana has escalated. The Khazari are arriving tomorrow for their so-called protection fees." "It's ready," Haijin confirmed. "We've tested it extensively. The neural interface is seamless. Strength amplification is at 600% with no loss of speed or flexibility." "And the soldiers?" 20 volunteers have completed the training program. They can operate the suits as naturally as their own bodies." The general nodded. "Good, because we're out of time. For too long, the Khazari have bullied our colonies, demanding resources while offering nothing in return. The Conclave calls it cultural exchange, but we know extortion when we see it. On New Montana, a small human colony of just over 5,000 people prepared for the arrival of their Khazari protectors. Every 3 months, the tall, spindly aliens would arrive in their gleaming ships to collect tributes of minerals, food, and sometimes even colonists for cultural studies. People who rarely returned. Colony Administrator Suman Park stood at the landing pad, watching the Khazari ship descend. Behind her stood 20 colonists who appeared no different from any others, dressed in standard work clothing. The only unusual feature was the thin metallic bands around their necks and wrists. Control interfaces for the Prometheus suits hidden beneath their clothes. The Khazari ship settled on the pad with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The loading ramp extended, and 5 Khazari emerged. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies thin but imposing, evolved in the low gravity of their lush homeworld. What they lacked in physical strength, they made up for with advanced technology and sheer numbers. "Administrator Park," said the lead Khazari, "Sub-Commander Telv, I trust this collection will proceed smoothly. Our sensors indicate your mining production has increased by 27% this quarter. We have adjusted your tribute requirements accordingly." Suman stepped forward. "There will be no tribute today, Sub-Commander." Telv's large eyes blinked in confusion, then narrowed. Perhaps you misunderstand. The protection agreement was imposed on us against our will. Suman interrupted. New Montana is declaring independence from Kizari oversight. Laughter rippled through the Kizari delegation. Telv gestured, and the loading ramp filled with armed guards. 20 in total. Administrator, this display of defiance is amusing but pointless. Your colony has no weapons, no defenses. You will comply, or we will select colonists for re-education, perhaps starting with the younger ones. We have made our decision. Suman replied calmly. She tapped a small communicator on her wrist. Dr. Lee, if you please. In the observation room on Earth, Hyjin pressed a sequence of commands. 20 signals transmitted across space to the waiting interfaces on New Montana. On the landing pad, the 20 colonists standing behind Suman suddenly stood straighter as their exoskeletons activated. The seemingly normal clothing rippled as nanomaterials reconfigured, covering their bodies in sleek armor that conformed perfectly to human physiology. The transformation took less than 5 seconds. Where ordinary colonists had stood moments before, now stood armored figures with enhanced strength, speed, and protection, all powered by the compact fusion cells embedded in the suit's spines. What is this? Demanded Telv, stepping back. Some kind of primitive battle armor. It changes nothing. Guards. The Kizari soldiers raised their weapons, advanced energy rifles that could tear through standard armors. They fired simultaneously at the human defenders. The energy bolts struck the Prometheus suits and dissipated across their surfaces. The nanomaterial armor absorbed the energy, channels glowing briefly blue before fading. Impossible, whispered Telv. Our weapons were designed to penetrate standard materials. Suman finished for him. This is something new, something we've been developing while you thought we were just simple colonists. One of the armored humans stepped forward. Min, the colony's chief engineer. His voice came clearly through the suit's external speakers. For 3 years, you've taken our resources, bullied our people, and treated us like servants. Today that ends. The Kizari guards fired again, more desperately this time. Again, their weapons had no effect. Min moved with startling speed, far faster than any Kizari could react. He covered the distance to the nearest guard in less than a second and simply plucked the weapon from his hands, crushing it like aluminum foil. The other suited humans moved with similar speed, disarming the entire Kizari contingent in moments. They moved with precision and control, using only enough force to neutralize the threat without killing. Within 60 seconds, all 20 Kizari guards were disarmed and secured. Only Telv remained untouched, staring in shock at his subdued forces. This is impossible. Humans are physically weaker than Kizari. Your muscles cannot. Our natural muscles. No, said Suman. But we evolved on a death world. Sub-Commander. Our bodies endure pressures your species would find crushing. And now, we found a way to amplify our natural strengths. Min lifted a cargo container, weighing over 2 tons, with one hand holding it effortlessly. This is what humans can do when we stop holding back. Telv backed away. The Conclave will hear of this outrage. Good, replied Suman. Tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them that New Montana is now an independent colony under human protection. Tell them that the tributes are over, and tell them that any ship approaching this world with hostile intent will be considered an act of war. Let them come, the general replied. For too long, we've hidden our strength to maintain peace. We tried diplomacy. We followed their rules. And still they treated us as lesser beings simply because we come from a harsh world. He turned to face the screens showing the successful defense of New Montana. The galaxy is about to learn why Deathworlders survived in the first place, and what happens when we stop being nice. Admiral Suo Kang stood motionless on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, his hands clasped behind his back as he studied the tactical display. The holographic projection showed the largest alien fleet ever assembled, over 300 vessels from the hastily formed coalition of Miltari, Jacorian, and Kizari forces. Their ships formed a crescent pattern as they approached the Proxima Centauri system, home to humanity's oldest and most established colony world. "They believe their numbers will overwhelm us," observed Commander Jiao Yun, Kang's second-in-command. 300 ships against our 40. Kang nodded slightly. "A reasonable assumption based on what they think they know about us." He turned to face the bridge crew. "Status report. All ships in defensive formation," reported Tactical Officer Minjun Ryu. "OTIN platforms still in standby mode, appearing as research stations on their scans. Civilian evacuation complete, Admiral. All non-essential personnel have been moved to the underground shelters or evacuated to Earth." The Admiral nodded again, satisfaction evident in his calm expression. For decades, humanity had maintained the appearance of technological inferiority, building ships that seemed only modestly armed, developing colonies that appeared vulnerable. All the while, their true military capabilities remained hidden in plain sight, disguised as research outposts, weather stations, or mining facilities. "Message from the Coalition fleet, Admiral," announced Communications Officer Yun Juhan. "They're demanding our immediate surrender and withdrawal from all disputed territories." "Put it on screen." The main view screen flickered to life, showing the faces of 3 alien commanders: Sub-Commander Telv of the Kizari, Supreme Director Nal of the Miltari, and Fleet Master Gurez of the Jacorians. The same Gurez whose brother had been captured during the pirate raid months earlier. "Admiral Kang," began Supreme Director Null, his slender military form seeming to tower over his allies. "The Galactic Conclave has declared human expansion and military aggression to be in violation of interstellar law. You will surrender your forces immediately and withdraw to Earth." Kang regarded them calmly. "Interesting. I wasn't aware the Conclave had authority to restrict a sovereign species to their home planet. Deathworlders require special oversight," chittered Fleet Master Gurez, mandibles clicking with barely restrained anger. "Your actions at New Montana and the unprovoked attack on Jacorian security vessels prove humans cannot be trusted with unrestricted space travel." "Unprovoked?" Kang's voice remained even. "Your brother was attempting to raid a civilian colony ship. As for New Montana, the Kizari were extracting illegal tributes from a recognized human settlement." "Semantics," dismissed Sub-Commander Telv. "The Coalition fleet will enter the Proxima system in 1 hour. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. This is your only warning." The transmission cut off. Commander Yun turned to Kang. "They're really going through with it." As expected, Kang moved to the tactical station. "They believe this show of force will make us back down. They still think we're playing by their rules." He opened a channel to all human ships. "This is Admiral Kang. The Coalition has made their intentions clear. For generations, we have restrained ourselves in the name of peaceful coexistence. We have endured insults, accepted unfair restrictions, and watched our people suffer while following rules designed to keep us subordinate." He paused, looking at the faces of his crew, all children of Earth, all descendants of those who had survived the harshest conditions a living world could produce. "Today that ends. Activate Operation Thunderbolt. Authorization Kang 7 Echo 9. Throughout the Proxima system, seemingly innocent research stations and weather platforms began to transform. Hidden compartments opened, revealing advanced weapon systems. Defensive shields activated around human colonies, and in high orbit, the 12 ODIN platforms, Orbital Defense and Interdiction Network, awakened from their dormant state. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the tactical display updated to show the true extent of human defenses. What had appeared to be 40 modestly armed ships and a handful of research stations was now revealed as a carefully planned defensive network with firepower that rivaled the entire Coalition fleet. "ODIN platforms online," reported Officer Ryu. "All weapons charged and targeting systems active." "Coalition fleet is accelerating," added Yun. They'll enter weapons range in 20 minutes. Kang opened a channel to the Coalition commanders. This is Admiral Kang of Earth Defense Force. You are approaching a sovereign human system with hostile intent. Reverse course immediately, or we will be forced to defend ourselves. Supreme Director Null's face appeared, his expression a mixture of disdain and confidence. Your bluff is noted, Admiral. Our intelligence reports confirm your limited defensive capabilities. Surrender now and spare your people unnecessary suffering. Kang's expression remained neutral. You were warned. He closed the channel and turned to his weapons officer. Target the lead vessel only. Minimum power demonstration. ODI in Platform 3 locked on target, confirmed the officer. Fire. From one of the orbital platforms, a beam of concentrated energy lanced out across space, striking the lead military battlecruiser. The Coalition vessel, supposedly protected by the most advanced shields in the Conclave, simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris field. The energy weapon had disintegrated it at the molecular level. Silence fell across the bridge of the Indomitable. Even the human crew, who knew what to expect, were stunned by the weapon's effectiveness. Coalition fleet has stopped advancing, reported Yoon, her voice hushed. There, they appear to be in disarray. The communications console chimed. Incoming transmission from Supreme Director Null, Admiral. Kang nodded, and the military leader's face appeared once more, now visibly shaken. What was that weapon? Nothing in our intelligence suggested. Your intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see, Kang interrupted. For 50 years, humanity has developed technologies we kept hidden from the Conclave. We played the role of the humble Deathworlders, grateful just to have a place at the table, all while preparing for this inevitable day. This is impossible, sputtered Telv. No species could hide such advancements. A species that evolved on a death world learns patience and deception as survival tools, replied Kang. You have 1 hour to withdraw all Coalition forces from human space. After that, we will consider any remaining vessels to be hostile and respond accordingly. The Coalition commanders conferred hurriedly off-screen before Null returned. We require time to discuss terms. This is not a negotiation, Kang said firmly. It is the new reality. Humans will no longer tolerate being treated as second-class citizens of the galaxy. The choice is simple: respect our sovereignty or learn firsthand why Deathworlders are feared. As the Coalition fleet began a hasty withdrawal, Commander Yoon approached her admiral. Do you think they'll return with reinforcements? Kang watched the retreating ships on the tactical display. Perhaps. But next time, they'll come as diplomats, not conquerors. The galaxy just learned an important lesson about underestimating species from harsh worlds. He turned away from the display. Send word to Earth. Operation Thunderbolt was successful. And tell them the Deathworlders have finally stopped being nice. The newly constructed conclave chamber gleamed under soft blue lighting. Gone were the tiered seating arrangements that had once placed Deathworld species at the lowest levels. Instead, a circular arrangement of delegation pods formed a perfect ring, symbolizing the equality that now formed the foundation of interstellar relations. Ambassador Ju Kim entered the chamber with measured steps. Representatives from over 40 species watched her progress, some with newfound respect, others with barely concealed fear. She took her seat in the Earth delegation pod, now positioned at the same height as those of the Miltari, Kizari, and other formerly dominant species. The Galactic Conclave reconvenes after the recent adjustments, announced Mediator Lith, a member of the neutral Vorethi species chosen to replace the previous leadership. Today we finalize the Deathworlder Accords that will govern our shared future. 3 months had passed since the failed Coalition attack on Proxima Centauri. 3 months of frantic diplomatic negotiations, emergency conclave sessions, and the complete restructuring of galactic politics. The old order had collapsed within days of humanity's demonstration of power. The real shock came when other Deathworld species, previously marginalized like humans, revealed their own hidden strengths. The Krathi, evolved on a high-radiation world, unveiled stealth technology that rendered their ships completely undetectable. The Vargur, from an ice planet with crushing gravity, presented biological engineering capabilities far beyond what the Conclave had believed possible. The Taurillians, from a toxic atmosphere world, demonstrated planetary shield technology that could protect entire continents. Like humans, they had hidden their true capabilities while enduring decades of discrimination. Before we begin, Mediator Lith continued, Ambassador Kim has requested to address the assembly. Kim rose and looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each major delegation. Many looked away, unable to hold her gaze. For generations, she began, species from Deathworlds were treated as lesser beings. We were told our harsh origins made us dangerous, unpredictable, potential threats to galactic harmony. We accepted unfair trade agreements. We allowed limitations on our expansion. We endured thinly veiled contempt from species who believed their garden world origins made them inherently superior. She paused, letting her words settle across the chamber. We did this because we believed peaceful coexistence was worth the sacrifice of our dignity. We did this because we hoped, with time, we would be accepted as equals. Supreme Director Nal of the Military shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Since the battle at Proxima, his people had lost their dominant position in the Conclave. Their economy, once buoyed by unfair resource extraction from human colonies, was now struggling. The recent conflict was not of our choosing, Kim continued. It was the inevitable result of a system that was fundamentally unjust. When humans finally defended themselves, when we stopped being nice, you called it aggression. When we refused further exploitation, you called it a threat to galactic stability. Several delegates murmured agreement, not just the Deathworlders, but also smaller garden world species who had suffered similar, if less severe, discrimination. We could have responded to your coalition with total war, Kim said, addressing the former leading species directly. The combined might of the Deathworld species could have conquered half the galaxy within a standard year. Our weapons could have reduced your homeworlds to ash. Fear rippled through the chamber. Everyone had seen the recordings of the Odian platform disintegrating a military battlecruiser with a single shot. But that is not who we are. Kim's voice softened. Humans did not evolve on a death world because we love violence. We survived because we adapted, cooperated, and protected each other. The same is true for all Deathworld species. She gestured to the Krathi, Vargur, and Taurillian ambassadors, whom nodded in agreement. Today, we offer a new path forward. The Deathworlder Accords are not about revenge or establishing a new hierarchy with different species at the top. They are about creating true equality, a system where a species is judged by their actions, not their planet of origin. Kim activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. The complete text of the Accords appeared, rotating slowly for all to see. Equal representation in all conclave bodies. Fair trade agreements based on mutual benefit, not coercion. Protection for developing species regardless of their world classification. And a mutual defense pact that commits all signatories to protecting each other from external threats. Sub-Commander Telv of the Khazari raised a slender hand. And if we refuse to sign? Kim smiled slightly. The Accords are not mandatory, Sub-Commander. Any species may choose to stand apart from this new arrangement. However, those who do not join will not benefit from its protections or economic frameworks. The unspoken message was clear. Refuse, and your species would be isolated in a rapidly changing galaxy. I have a question, said Fleet Master Guriz of the Jacorians, his mandibles clicking nervously. These accords speak of forgiveness for past actions. Are we to understand that the Deathworld Alliance will not seek reparations for historical misunderstandings? We are looking forward, not backward, Kim answered. What matters now is building a future where all sentient species can thrive together. The chamber fell silent as each delegation considered the implications. For the formerly dominant species, the Accords represented a significant loss of privilege, but offered a path to stability. For the Deathworlders and other marginalized species, they'd promised the equality they had long been denied. One by one, ambassadors approached the central platform to register their species acceptance. The Varg were first, followed by the Tyrillians and Krathi. Smaller garden world species came next, eager to secure protection under the new arrangement. The Miltari, Khazari, and Jakorians hesitated longest, conferring among themselves urgently. Finally, Supreme Director Null approached the platform. The Military Confederation accepts the Deathworlder Accords, he announced formally. We acknowledge past errors and commit to the new galactic order. Within hours, all major species had signed. As the ceremony concluded, Ambassador Kim returned to the Earth Embassy where General Minji Choi waited. It's done, Kim said, sinking into a chair. A new beginning. Will it last? Asked Choi. They signed because they feared what would happen if they didn't. Fear may have brought them to the table, Kim acknowledged. But what keeps them, there will be the benefits of true cooperation. For the first time, they're seeing what Deathworlders can create, not just what we can destroy. And the ODIM platforms remain in place, Kim said firmly. Trust must be earned over time. We stopped being nice, General, not foolish. As news of the Accord spread throughout the galaxy, a new understanding began to take root. The harsh worlds that had forged species like humans hadn't created monsters to be feared and contained. They had created survivors who understood that true strength came not from domination, but from building something that could withstand any challenge. The day Deathworlders stopped being nice had not led to the destruction many had feared. Instead, it had created the possibility of something the galaxy had never truly known before. Peace based on mutual respect, not fear and subjugation. The end.